Okay. We're back in session. I'm going to close the public hearing on the SUNY Adirondack tentative operating budget, and I'm going to close the public hearing on the ethics law. Okay, now we'll go to public comment. Anybody who wishes to address the board, please get up and state your name and address for the public.
Go to the.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, good morning. After sitting here for a very long time, I would just like to say that my name is Billy Joe Ryan, and I reside in the 3rd Ward in the city of Glens Falls with my husband Jim and our family. We are both on the Republican committee as members, and we work for the Board of Elections. We have been doing this now for the last 4 years. As a member of the Republican Board of the Committee and a worker at the Board of Elections, and a constituent that works or that resides in Ward 3, I would like to let you know that I am here today to give my opinion on the resolution to reappoint your Republican and your Democratic commissioner for Warren County. It is my understanding that this resolution now has been separated, which it has always been one resolution. So I'm not really understanding why we're separating it. I know that some people have issues on this board with certain commissioners, and that is okay because everyone is entitled to their opinion. But me personally, I do not think that it is okay to separate our commissioners and have it on 2 resolutions. They work together side by side in that building every day, and they deserve to be treated as equal on one resolution. We as the committee members and constituents in Warren County, we attended a meeting where myself and my husband, it was our first time attending a meeting. Some of the people that were at that meeting were bullied by other people in that room on how to cast their vote that day. I sat in quiet and I observed because it was my first time attending my Republican committee meeting, but I will do so no longer. If I feel that something is wrong, you will be seeing me at all these board meetings. At the end result, the vote was unanimous overwhelmingly, and Mr. Vaness was backed by the Republican committee. So as a Republican committee member and as a constituent of the county, I'm here to say that I have had nothing but the best experiences working for the Board of Elections and for Billy and Beth at the Board of Elections. When you walk into their office, there is no, I am a Republican and you are a Democrat. They see all of us as equal American people and residents of Warren County, and they represent and treat us all equally and fairly and with respect. Some of you sitting on this board have no idea what it takes to run the Board of Elections. The Republican committee and also the Democrats have made their appointments clear to this board. And I am here in the end result to tell you that they mutually agreed for Billy and Beth to continue on as representing the Board of Elections as commissioners. I would also like to say that this needs to go back to one resolution, and you as the board members need to stop separating Republicans and Democrats. We are all people and we are here for the same common goal and the end result. I will leave you with this final thought. We as the committee members have had our meetings and we casted our votes, and Billy and Beth deserve their positions. And I would also like to say, this isn't on part of my thing, but now that I'm on the roll, as a constituent of this county and as a member of Warren County, all of you people sitting in these board seats, I don't know half of you. I know a few by your names and your faces in passing, but there's only one person that sits in these chairs that has ever had the decency as a board member to approach me and talk to me and speak to me as a member of this community. And she knows who she is, and I appreciate her for that. I thank you for your time and listening to what I had to say. I hope you all have a nice day.
Okay. Report of the chairman. Attended the June 15th Board of Supervisors meetings, 3 meetings on the CSEA, union negotiations. Extended committee meetings. Yes, excuse me. Yes, sir.
I've been up here one of these. I'd like to give you on that.
Oh, sure. I'm sorry. I didn't realize.
My name's Tim Guy, from Ward 5, City of Glens Falls. In the 90s, I was on the Republican committee. Got off of it because I didn't like the dirty politics that went on during those committee meetings with the bullying. For years, both commissioners have been elected, appointed by this group at the same time. Separating them to me seems to be some type of nefarious act. My opinion for this board is if the Republican committee says they want this person, Democratic committee says they want this person, your job would be to confirm those positions. Jack Diamond and I have known each other for years. I talked to him briefly about this, and he said to me, what if you don't like one of the people? It's not your job to like or dislike them. It's your job to fulfill what those committees have put forward. That's my opinion. That's how a democracy runs. Don't care if you like me or you don't like me. If the majority of the people that are being represented vote and they say, we want this person, I think you know what the right thing to do is to vote for them. My opinion, if you abstain from the vote, it's a cowardly way of not being held accountable. And you people should all be accountable to us. Billy Vaness deserves it. Beth deserves it. I ran for mayor, had questions. If Billy wasn't there, Beth was. Treated me the same. And I give her credit and I give Billy credit. Two of the finest people that this county has, because they don't care what party you're with. With that, I got to go to work.
Thank you, Mr. Guy. Anybody else for public comment? No. Anybody online? Okay, I'll finish my report. Attended committee meetings, CSEA negotiations, APA local government meeting up in Keene. And then I did complete the Tier 1 emergency management training July 13th. So that's my committee report. Chair report, Supervisor Merlino, tourism, park operations and management.
Tourism is going to meet Monday at 11:10. I'd like to see some people there. I'm not on YouTube, so we can talk to each other and get some work done. That's about the only thing I could say about tourism right now. The people downstairs are working hard. They're all going to make a report on what's been going on for the last 2 months, and I'd like everybody to hear it. Thank you.
Supervisor Shroud, legislature and rules, government operations.
Legislative Rules and Governmental Operations Committee met June 30th, 2022. There are 4 resolutions before you tonight, 342, 343, 344, 345. 342 is basically renewing the New York State retention and deposition schedule. 343 is for new software for the IT department, software that will provide a programming platform tool. That tool will better enable our programmers to program and to manipulate the program. Also, we have a mission statement which states basically Warren County government works for its Warren County residents. Funding shall be dedicated to protecting and enhancing our residents' quality of life by providing excellent services in a cost-effective manner. 345 is a purchasing policy for Warren County, and it's approval of the purchasing policy. And that's it for committee reports, but I would like to also thank the host, Fort William Henry, for recognizing our hospitality giants in the area. Joanne Conley, Kathy Munsell, Amy Collins, Gina Metzner, and Sarah Mannix. These are wonderful people who have done wonderful things for the hospitality industry and our greater community. So it was a very nice gathering last night. That's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, Supervisor Wow, Economic Growth and Development.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. The Economic Growth and Development Committee met on the 20th of June. There was a video presented by Jim Sipon with EDC. It's a promotional video for Warren County. If you haven't seen it, I suggest you take a couple of minutes and take a look at it. It was very well produced. The Planning Department gave a brief update on housing study that they're working on, the gap we have in housing. We're working closely with Glens Falls. They give an update on the septic program that has had significant demand, much more than was expected. And we have some people lobbying the state to try to help us with some more funds to carry that forward. There's also a floor resolution today coming out of planning, and it's in relation to the invasive clearing of invasives in Screw Lake. This was scheduled to start in June. Because of COVID and some of the issues that happened at the finance people at the state, this did not get to us in time. The state managed to pull some strings and get us the money so that we could harvest the milfoil at the peak time in Screw Lake instead of waiting until sometime late in August or September when it would basically just push us backwards. So I do appreciate the board's support on that. There's 3 other resolutions. 234 is an energy audit of the municipal center, basically to try to save us some money. 235 and 36 is rescinding resolutions related to the GIS system and how they charge municipalities. They're outdated. They're 2009 and 2010 or so. They'll be updated as necessary moving forward, but I appreciate your support because those are rescinding them and we'll come up with something new. Mr. Chairman, thank you. That's my report.
Supervisor Seaborn, National Association of Counties and New York State Association of Counties.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity to chair the special committee. I am getting ready to leave, hopefully next week for the National Association of Counties Conference. I do want to share with everyone here that if there are any concerns or any possible resolutions that you would like brought forward or to solicit national feedback on, I am happy to carry those items. This year it is over a long weekend, so I'll be spending my weekend in our classes, and I look forward to representing our county. So if there are comments, I've had a few people that have brought forward resolutions that they would like some more information on. I'm happy to do that, and I look forward to a committee meeting in the weeks that follow. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Thomas, budget.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Budget, let's see. We met the other day, I think it was Tuesday, with the self-insurance department with Amy Kloop. That went well. I mean, there's issues with workers' comp that could possibly be a problem down the road with what the state legislature is thinking about. Other than that, for the most part, it went pretty good. We have a department head meeting on Wednesday to hand out the paperwork that we usually hand out at the beginning of the budget and speak to the department heads about the 2023 budget. And also mentioned that the sales tax took a little dive there from the other day. Mr. Lynch sent out the report there, and we were down to a 10% increase from I think it was 24%. So just things to be aware of. And you want me to do personnel too?
Yes, personnel and administration, higher education.
Okay, thank you. Personnel met on June 30th. Out of that meeting, there's resolutions 349 through 354. There's also resolution 366, the Suny Adirondack tentative budget. 349 is a resolution creating a third assistant county attorney, deleting a tax coordinator. The public defender's office is creating a legal clerk 3, number 1, and deleting a legal clerk and also an investigator. And the county clerk would like to create a position of legal recording clerk number 3 and delete a recording clerk number 1. Resolution 350 is dealing with positions in the public defender's office. Decreasing salaries for the most part, and also within the countryside. Changing positions and changing the titles, moving people from part-time temporary to part-time permanent, and I believe moving one individual to full-time. 351 is adopting the amended Warren County Travel and Education and Vehicle Use Policy. I think everybody should be aware of the amendments. It's been several months, so. 352 is appointing Juan Gonzalez to replace Michael Biddle on the IDA board. 353 is the ethics and disclosure law that we have been discussing this morning. And 354 is reappointing Marshall and Sterling for broker services for our health insurance. There's also two floor resolutions. One is the negotiated increase with the CSCA union. And the second one is reallocation for the nurses in the health department. Other than that, I think that's about it.
Okay, Supervisor Conover, Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Public Works met and I think it was the 21st of June, latter part of June, represented in your packet by resolution 348, which is straightforward transfer of closing out capital. But I'll also draw your attention to a Public Works resolution under Finance 361, which is to appropriate dollars to represent the increase in energy costs that we're experiencing in Public Works. And I have to tell you, I'm not sure that that transfer is going to be sufficient through the end of the year. We'll see. And we're also experiencing large increases and unanticipated increase in our project costs, some of which will be discussed at the next committee meeting. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay. Supervisor Leggett, Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Finance met on June 30th. I was not able to attend. Vice Chairman Supervisor Thomas led the meeting. Thank you very much, Supervisor Thomas, for leading that meeting. Before you are 7 resolutions. The first ones are 318 and 319. And as you see on resolution 319, it deals a lot with the ARPA funds, about $250,000 worth that are distributed among 25 departments of Warren County. Then there's also, you'll see in 355 resolution for a settlement on airport of $179,000. 356, close some reserve funds, contracts for copiers on 357 and 358. 359 is another settlement for $50,000. There's booking a return of some money back to the county here of $48,000 on resolution 360. 361, another $200,000 just referred to from the DPW chairman here. That's coming out of unappropriated surplus. And then there's appropriations of funds for computers out of the reserve of resolution 362. 363 is further appropriations for occupancy tax projects. 364 is closing the capital project of the First Wilderness, returning that to the funding source. And then 365, very important one, I urge everybody to accept, is that around that community college operating budget for fiscal year 2022-2023. And 366 is that budget amount of $2,173,075.
I would like to comment that on these appropriations, there's $430,000 that we are pulling out of our fund balance to appropriate for these things. So when we look at our fund balance, and it looks really good that in 1 month, if we can take almost $500,000 out of it to fund certain items and all necessary items, we need to be very mindful of our other expenses and what we do with our fund balance. Also, would like to report, sat in on the CSEA and the nursery allocation meetings, attended water quality committee meeting at the fish hatchery put on by Soil Water Conservation District. They did a great job, great attendance there. Great facility as well. Went to the APA meeting yesterday. They dedicated a tree and I call it the Honor Grove. And Andrea, correct me if there's a better name for where those trees are, for distinguished persons of the Adirondacks that have really contributed to our quality of life here and the governance. And Fred Monroe was my predecessor, person that sat in the seat for 24 years, was recognized as a leader in the region. A proud moment for all of us. Also met with Suny Adirondack to talk about the budgets and future expenses, and attended the IDA CDC meetings and urged support of appointing Juan Gonzalez to an empty seat that's in Washington County. That's my report. Thank you.
Supervisor Mandevitt, environmental concerns and real property tax.
Environmental concerns and real property met last Monday. I'd like to thank Treasurer Swan and Lexi for their efforts to continually provide a fair, balanced, and compassionate approach to taxpayers facing foreclosure. Good meeting, and I think they work hard to again get these people back on track with county taxes and avoid foreclosure. Thank you.
Supervisor Bramer, co-chair of ARPA.
Thanks. I'm sure Supervisor Dickinson could add anything if I miss it. We did have a meeting talking about the applications for funding. If people want to request ARPA funding, they need to put in their application by August 1st. And the application is on the website for anybody who's interested. Also, you'll see in your packet today, resolutions 320 through 325 are ARPA allocations. There's a couple here for employee transportation costs, specifically one for J1 employees, and there will be $20,000 allocated to the Greater Glens Falls Transit Authority for that type of money. There's $85,000 for job skill training to Warren County residents, $120,000 for summer workforce development for younger individuals, and then another $250,000 for high school age students to receive labor and labor union and skilled training. So that's really important, I believe. And also one that's gained some attention in the last few days, especially with the Take a Bite bike to Take a Bite on Wednesday, where they had some demonstrations about temporary bike lanes to improve safety for people biking on streets. There's $100,000 here for the bikeway safety study for the Warren County Bikeway, and I would ask for your support in all of those. Bike path, the multi-use trail. What are we calling it now? Thank you.
Okay,
That's my report on ARPA.
thank you. Supervisor Bruno, facilities.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. County Facilities Committee met on Tuesday, June 21st. We started with the airport, and as a result of that, we have Resolution 355, which came through Finance Committee. We discussed the settlement for Forest Enterprises. Now, this has been litigated, and the settlement payment was determined by the court. It's in the amount of $179,388.30. I'm not happy about that. Probably no one is, but I just remind you, this is a settlement judgment. We're required to pay it. We could appeal it. It's my opinion, and I think county attorney would probably agree, if we went back, we may end up paying more. So I would hope that you would support this as a roll call vote. Finance Committee Resolution number 355. And that was pretty much it for the airport portion of that. Moving on, buildings and grounds. We discussed the work order request program and the fleet car request program. Scott Rogers gave an update on those. They're working very well. Countryside Adult Home. The detailed design is being finalized. This should be ready to bid first week of August and begin work on that in September. That's a very important project. I think you'd all agree. Yeah, design updates to the front entrance of the municipal center here. Those will be coming out. And the update on the asbestos in the old jail building, the abatement there. The estimate there is $495,000. That was from Clark Patterson Lee, the engineer. So that would take care of everything. The remaining asbestos would be the caulk and the windows, and that would be one of the last things that was done. And the final cost, including this work, be available in July. But that's the $495,000. The abatement and the demolition of the building interior. What else? We had discussed updates to this boardroom, but we decided to put that on hold. It's not a priority, and given the economic conditions, et cetera, we'll address that at a later date. And also had an update on work to convert the former Warren County Detention Center to the Joseph Warren Center. I think that's a great project. And we had presented some designs by Labella Associates, and those were discussed, be updated, and I'll have more on that later. And Supervisor Seaver spoke regarding ADA compliance with regard to the elevator, the need to make it more accessible to everyone. And Mr. Hajo advised that he was reviewing the ADA report that included that. So there'll be more on that. And that concludes my report.
Okay, Supervisor Driscoll, you have Human Services and Extension.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I give my report, I would respectfully request that after committee chairs have had an opportunity to present their report, that individuals on the board who are not currently chairs of committees be given the opportunity to share information that they may have at the completion of the committee reports. Oftentimes, the two committees that I chair, I miss something or an issue that might be important to another person gets missed and not presented to the public viewing in. So my report, the Human Services Committee met on June 20th. The next meeting will be this coming Monday, June 18th, on or about 10:50 a.m. From the June 20th meeting came resolution 304, which was permission for the Department of Social Services, submission of an application to the U.S. Department of Agriculture to improve the process and technology in departments at DSS. There was some other good discussions going on from DSS, and I've spoken to a lot of DSS people, and they appreciate the fact that we're addressing the need to recruit positions to be filled in the very near future. From Cooperative Extension, 3 highlights that were submitted to me by Amy Sabatis from Cooperative Extension. That's information about the Warren County Homesteading and 4-H Youth Fair, which will be held on Saturday, August 6th. If you've never had a chance to get over to that, it's a fun activity, and the young people and their families spend an awful lot of time and share their talents with woodworking, clothing, vegetable, flowers, painting, photography, and a variety of other skills. So again, I encourage you to make the time to get over there. The 13th annual extension golf tournament and silent auction will be held in Warrensburg at Cronin's on Saturday, August 27th. They're still looking for golfers as well as individuals who just want to come over for the dinner afterwards, and or sponsorships. So you can get in touch with Cooperative Extension or me if you want more information on that. And a number of 4-Hers traveled to Cornell University at the end of June for the 100th annual 4-H Career Exploration Conference. And that's a conference where youth are right on the campus of Cornell University, and it provides them with exposure to academic fields and career exploration to develop leadership skills and to provide hands-on experience in a college setting. And a lot's going on at Extension, as I've mentioned in the past. And my final bit of information was a mailing that I received in the mail, and this is promoting individuals who might be interested in starting their in-home childcare businesses. And I think this is a direct result of the partnership that we have with Liza Orksendorf and her team, the individuals at the Southern Adirondack Childcare Network. And I'm not sure if ARPA funds were used to develop this, but certainly ARPA's decision to invest in childcare as well as job training and related things has a true impact on our industry, on our economy, and the ability for young families to return to work and be able to find affordable childcare in our region. Thank you.
Supervisor Frazier, Health Services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Health Services met on June the 20th. We'll meet again on this Monday at 10 o'clock. And as a result of those committee meetings, we have 4 resolutions, 337 through 340. 337 is from Community Services, amending an authorization agreement with the Community Services Board and various agencies to provide specialized mental health crisis respite services for the youth. 338 and 339 authorizing an agreement with Maggie Wood, who's an occupational therapist, who will be providing services for preschool special ed and for the health services department. And 340 authorizes an agreement for occupational therapist. I guess her name is Gail Poliskowski, and she provides the committee preschool special education services. And that's my report. Thank you.
Supervisor Drossy, Criminal Justice, Public Safety.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our committee met on Monday, June 21st. Actually, I'm not sure if it was Monday, but it was June 21st. And I appreciate that all committee members appeared in person. It was greatly appreciated to have everyone there together. We have for your consideration today, resolutions 326 through 333. During the last meeting, we held an executive session regarding the safety and security issues of this county complex. I'm sure we're going to address that again. This coming Monday was the next meeting at 9 a.m. So hopefully many of you will be able to attend. I've also asked our insurance administrator, Amy, to attend just in case there's some questions that come up in reference to some reports that you all have copies to. So hopefully many of you will be able to attend on Monday morning. Thank you.
Supervisor Dickinson, Axie Tax.
OCTAX met on the 20th of June. We have 3 resolutions, 346, 347 for payments, and then 363, which is a transfer of funds. And that's my report.
Okay. Any other supervisor wish to report on anything? Committee reports? None? Report of county administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the budget officer mentioned, it's hard to believe, but the budget process for next year has already begun. We met on Monday, the 11th with Amy Clute, and we will continue to do those meetings as we typically do. On Wednesday, July 6th, we held our CSEA negotiations. We hammered it all out in less than one day, which it was a difficult negotiation. Both sides gave, and that is always, I think, the mark of a good negotiation. I want to thank everyone from CSEA who sat at the table for all those hours and worked through those issues with us. I am grateful for their service. Again, on Wednesday, the 13th, we sat down for the reallocation piece that will increase salaries for nurses and make them more competitive with what nurses in this region are being paid. Again, I thank CSEA's members of the reallocation committee for working very well with us on that issue. In terms of the added starter resolutions that are on the agenda today, 365 and 366 is the Suny budget. The amount for Warren County is $2,173,075. That's a 2% increase over last year. I believe every year I've been here, and probably some prior years as well, we've been doing 2% per year. Certainly sustainable for the county. I do have some concerns that the trajectory that SUNY is on with the sponsored contributions from both Warren and Washington County are not sufficient. When the state does not pony up the money that they ought to pony up, which has been what's happening, and the sponsor contributions, we're among the lower levels in the state of New York. When those two revenue streams don't meet the college's needs, tuition is where they have to go. And I worry that long-term tuition is going to put that college in an uncompetitive position. I think it's worthwhile for our board and the Washington County Board to rethink the funding formula that we use for the sponsor contributions so that we can better meet SUNY's needs. And I will be, before I leave, working on a potential proposal to do that for your consideration, which I will present at a future committee meeting. 367 and 368, that is the CSEA negotiation that I already spoke of. And 369 and 370 is the reallocation that I already spoke of. And now we go to the floor resolutions. Floor resolutions 1, 2, 3, and 4 pertain to the reappointment of our current election commissioners for a 4-year term. I'm very happy that both of those commissioners sought another term. I think they both do an excellent job. I've never seen commissioners from different parties work so well together as those two do. And we've had very challenging years, the implementation of early voting and a lot of other legislation that's come down from the state that they have just figured out. And they have very hardworking staff. They work hard, their deputies work hard, and I thank them very much. For resolution 5 and 6, Supervisor Wild already spoke to it. It pertains to milfoil harvesting. The state, we had a grant for this. The state was not, the Department of State was not as quick in producing the grant documents as we would have liked, but they did help us reassign unused dollars in a prior grant. The time crunch that we have here is you want to get out and harvest milfoil before the end of July. The lake associations and the soil and water district have both advocated very strongly for that. So that's why we have this on the agenda for today, rather than running it through committee, which is always the preferred course of action. If we get this done today, we will have them working on this before the end of the month. And that's for the good of the lake. There was an RFP for this, only one response to that RFP, and it's a vendor that has performed this work before and does it well. Those are all of the added starter resolutions. I don't know whether we have the second board meeting, but if we don't, this is my last board meeting, and I want to thank everyone for the interactions that we've had at these meetings. You may not believe it, but I do enjoy these meetings. This is where the business of the people gets done, and the conversations are sometimes difficult, but you all share your opinions, and I think that process gets us to a good solution. It's been a real privilege doing this work every month and sometimes twice a month with all of you. I respect all of you and thank you for that camaraderie. In terms of succession, we posted my position yesterday. The position is posted on the county website, ARCC, NISAC, NACO, Indeed, and we'll be highlighting the position in all of our social media as well. The succession process in the interim, while we search for a new county administrator, we do have a local law. It is local law number 2 of 2017. And there is a clause in there that pertains to what happens if it's section 8, acting county administrator. I will read it. The chair of the Board of Supervisors shall be the acting county administrator in the event of the county administrator's absence from the county or inability to perform or exercise the powers and duties of the office for an extended period. In the event of the chairman's inability to serve as acting county administrator, the Board of Supervisors shall appoint an acting county administrator. And in no event may a person serve as acting county administrator for a period greater than 60 days in any calendar year unless authorized by the Board of Supervisors. So depending on what individuals want to do, we'll have an update back to the board or request an action from the board to appoint an interim county administrator. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. We're going to move the attorney's report to the end of the meeting because we do have to discuss litigation, which is going to take some time. I will have reading of communications.
We have Warren County Democratic Committee's nomination for Elizabeth McLaughlin as Democratic Commissioner for the Board of Elections. Warren County Republican Committee's nomination for William Van Ness as Republican Commissioner for the Board of Elections. We have a notice of public hearing from Fitzgerald Morris Baker Firth on the Spring Development Group LLC project. Another notice of public hearing from the same group on an EASM Holdings LLC project. And another for a second public hearing held on the Spring City Development Project. There's also a letter from Rebecca Smith Lawler citing potential responsibility and liability to her property located in the town of Warrensburg. All of those have been emailed out to the board previously.
Okay. Discussion on proposed resolutions. Yeah, okay, there we go.
Resolution numbers 318 through 364 were distributed to the board and posted to the county website on July 8th. There's also a proclamation number 30 that was distributed. That's naming the month of July as Parks and Recreation Month in Warren County. All of those were distributed within the deadline specified in the rules of the board. Resolution numbers 365 and 366 were distributed on July 13th. Floor resolutions 1 through 6 were distributed on July 14th. And resolutions 367 through 370 were distributed this morning following the Personnel Committee meeting. As none of those met the distribution deadline specified, waiving of the rules will be required. So we have a whole bunch of those. So first one, the first motion needed is to waive the rules for resolution number 366. That resolution is in your packet labeled as 365.
We do that. Yep. Motion to waive the rules. Motion by Supervisor Leggett, second by Supervisor Stroud. Discussion on waiving rules. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, next is a waiving of the rules for resolution number 368. That waiving the rules resolution is in your packet labeled as 367.
Motion. Supervisor Moreno, second by Supervisor Thomas. Discussion. All those in favor of waiving rules?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, next is waiving the rules for resolution number 370. That resolution is provided in your packet. It's labeled as resolution 369.
Motion to waive the rules, Supervisor McGowan, second by Supervisor Thomas. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
We need a waiving of the rules to entertain floor resolution number 2. That's in your packets labeled as floor resolution number 1.
Motion by Supervisor Bruno, second by Supervisor Stroud to waive the rules. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, floor resolution number 1 is now resolution number 371. A motion is needed to bring floor resolution number 2 to the floor.
Motion by Supervisor Bramer. Second by Supervisor Disco. All those in favor of bringing resolution number 2?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Floor resolution number 2 is now resolution number 372.
Okay,
Waiving the rules is needed to entertain resolution, floor resolution number 4. That resolution is in your packet labeled as floor resolution number 3.
motion. Motion by Supervisor Fraser, second by Supervisor Runyon. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carry.
Okay, floor resolution number 3 is now resolution number 373. Motion to bring floor resolution number 4 to the floor.
Motion. Supervisor Thomas, second by Supervisor Runyon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carry.
Floor resolution number 4 is now resolution 374. Waiving of the rules is needed to entertain floor resolution number 6. That resolution is in your packet labeled as floor resolution number 5.
Motion to waive the rules by Supervisor Wild, second by Supervisor Westcott. All those in favor of waiving rules?
Aye.
Supervisor West-
Westcott's back.
Wild,
And
like it. Oh, yeah, yeah.
That was gonna be.
She was back.
Yeah.
All those,
I'll let him know.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carry.
floor resolution number 5 is now resolution 375. Motion to bring floor resolution number 6 to the floor.
Motion by Supervisor Fraser. At least I remember who you were.
Thank you.
Supervisor Wild, second by Supervisor Wild. All those in favor? Opposed? Carry.
Floor resolution number 6 is now resolution 376.
All right.
You want me to ask about combining roll calls?
Yes.
Hey, there are a lot of roll calls. Is there any objection to combining a few of those? I would suggest that we combine 318 and 319. That's the budget amendment and the transfer. Possibly we combine the ARPA distributions. Those would be 320 through 325. And then if we could combine 355, 359, 361, 362, and 363, those are all appropriations of funds from general fund, computer reserve, and occupancy tax reserve.
Without objection, Supervisor Brown?
Yep.
Second by Supervisor Bramer, correct?
I'd like 355 solo.
Okay. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other roll call votes, please? Supervisor Hogan,
374.
what was it?
374.
374. That's what I thought. Okay. Supervisor Wild,
372, and I'd like to see if we can combine those both together, 372 and 374. Because I'm really quite uncertain why they're separate, because we've had them together in the past. So I'm looking for an explanation of why they're separate and who may have recommended that.
okay, I had a request to separate the resolution, so I asked the clerk of the board to separate the resolution.
Could we combine the vote? Roll call vote
You just said
That's up to the board.
Amanda see if she wanted.
You want a roll call vote?
on both of them, please. Can we combine it together?
If you have one person. that's-
I'm gonna ask that we not.
Be separate.
Can I speak to the resolution? Are we
Sure.
there yet?
Well, yeah, I think, yes, I'm asking for roll call. so-
Okay, on 374, I want to be very, very, very clear on something. I do not, I was one who requested that they be separated, and I know that traditionally they are together. I do not have any personal problem with anyone involved in any of these resolutions. I do not even have a problem with work performance of anyone involved in any of these resolutions. For me, this is a simple matter of my own personal ethics conflicting with what I'm being asked to do. As you know, I will push, and I will push until you are all sick of hearing it, on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I'm very conscious of the message that we send out, messages that we send out, both explicit and implicit. My concern here is that 374 sends a message to the world that we aren't holding our own people accountable for their actions. That we are able to ignore egregious moments where we throw somebody to the ground who didn't deserve it. I'm very concerned that we're not putting out to the world that we are a welcoming environment and that we will defend diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so that's why we're being asked to do that, to have these separate votes. And I'm asking all of you not to make this personal, because it's not. Again, it's not personal. It's about my ethics and where I stand and what I can and cannot do.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I'd just like to make a comment if I can, please.
Yes.
I would take an opposite perspective. I would suggest that we all make mistakes. A mistake, I think, was clearly identified here. But we should be, I think, a reasonably forgiving body and basically accept the fact that this human being made a mistake. He's accepted it, and we move on.
Supervisor Breimer?
Thank you, Chairman. I don't want to address the particulars of the issue that's being raised. I do want to say that I respect my constituents, and also I have a vote on this board and I would like to use it. So I would also ask that we keep those two roll calls separately. Thank you.
Unless somebody wants to make a motion, combine them, we'll leave them separate. Any other discussion on resolutions? Yes.
I do have an easy one, hopefully. On 322, I received a note from Liza after I made the comments about the summary of it. And I looked back at the minutes from that meeting. I had mentioned that it was for summer workforce, implying that it was for, and I said that it was for youth. As we went through it that day, we did talk about having that be flexible in case we do go into a recession and wanting employment training opportunities for a flexible workforce, not just youth. So I wanted to make that clear, and if necessary, make an amendment to 322 to remove the word summer in the resolution language.
That, just removing this word, plan for summer.
I would just do.
We can just do that, clerks.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Uh,
See, I said it'd be
you have
easy.
hands raised. Excuse me. Did you have your hands raised?
I was just gonna second it.
Who did?
Yeah.
I was just gonna second it.
That's clerk's adjustment. Any other discussion on resolutions? Supervisor Beatty?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This will probably be our final discussion on this. Number 355, as this will be the final payment. Just to recap what this is for, we took someone's land through eminent domain to extend a runway airport that was never officially sanctioned by the FAA. We got ahead of ourselves. It's going to cost the county over $500,000. And this is what happens when we put the cart before the horse. Taxpayers end up footing the bill by taking someone's land that was never should have been taken. And now this is the final payment of a long and drawn out huge boondoggle of a mistake that some members of this board continue to push for years and years. And this will probably put it to bed on this particular issue, not to say the wasteful wasting of millions of dollars in engineering costs and so forth. So I know it was a long process, the runaway boondoggle, but thank God it's finally put to rest, and the county taxpayers after this last payment will no longer be paying the hundreds of thousands and even into the millions of dollars. It's over with now. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other discussion? Supervisor Hogan?
Thank you. On 324, I already spoke with my colleague from Glens Falls. I did not have an opportunity to speak with my colleague from Lake George, but I do support this resolution. I'm just going to ask us all to really consider changing the name from bikeway to multi-use path or something else. Doug walks on it every day.
Every day.
We use it for a lot of things besides biking. I think it's important from a promotional point of view that we start calling it something other than a bikeway. but also to 324. I do support this allocation of money, but I do want to lay in front of all of you that we have another corridor in this county that is underutilized, needs to be studied. And maybe not from ARPA, but from some future source of funds. Can we please look at our railway? It's 100-foot swath of land from one end of the county to the other that isn't being maximized. So please, in the future, when you're considering planning money, let's look at that. Thank you.
Isn't Wayne going to look into that? Didn't he talk about the first wilderness? Did you get? They're thinking about looking at first wilderness again.
I hadn't heard that, but that would be great.
I just heard it. So Supervisor Dixon.
The Warren County Bikeway was dedicated as a bikeway. The majority of it is just at a bikeway. Now, I know as you get down in the residential areas, you start to pick up some walkers, but the primary thing there is it is a bikeway. You're allowed to walk on it, but you have to understand that you are walking on a bikeway. And you have to be careful. You have to be careful with kids, dogs, and you have to pay attention. Bicycles can go quite fast and are totally silent. So I object to changing the name.
Okay,
I do think that we should
thank you.
continue.
Somebody over here had their hand up.
I did.
Supervisor Driscoll.
Thank you, Chairman. My colleague from Queensbury reminded me, I wasn't sure when she and I thought I made asked for an amendment and Supervisor Dickinson seconded it regarding 370, the ethics resolution 353 to allow for those individuals to complete their one-year term before individuals are removed from the board.
I don't know how we do that. It's we're reconstituting it and it would be illegal. We're redoing the ethics committee, correct?
There's probably a way to word it. It's a 2-year term that they were originally appointed for. That ran this year and next year. It ran concurrent with the Board of Supervisors 2-year term. I mean, if there's a motion to try to amend it, I can try to on the fly come up with some kind of language for it, but I'm not, the way the local law is written now, if it's passed, the Board of Supervisors is going to appoint 5 new primary members. Even if they've already served, they're going to be new members appointed under the new local law. They're not going to be holdovers or carryovers. They're going to be new members appointed to the board as it's now constituted.
Go ahead, Ben.
But would it then take effect when those new members, I mean, it takes us a while to hire a department head or something like that. Can we assume that those individuals are going to be appointed before August 1st, or I'll defer to Ryan.
Administrator.
I could suggest an amendment here that will, I think, solve the issues that have been raised. The sentence that starts, one of the 5 members shall be an appointed officer or employee of Warren County. After the word county, why don't we just put or a municipality located in Warren County? So that way your one governmental representative and your one governmental alternate can be from either. And that everybody that has expressed that they would like to continue serving will be able to continue to serve under that construct.
Do you wish that as an amendment to 3?
Yeah, so what I'm understanding, through the last day of the 2nd year, and then we go through the process of no.
These are new appointments.
No appointment.
These are no appoint, okay, all right, okay. Yeah,
Are you making that as a motion?
yes, I am.
All right, if somebody, Dennis, are you seconding Ben's amendment to the
Please.
amendment to the amendment?
Yeah,
355 is amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Okay. Any other discussion on resolution? Seeing none? Up, Supervisor Kramer and then Supervisor Connell.
Okay, this is just one point I want to make on 350, which is the organizational table. Just need to flip there. One of the ones that were hired or indicating where you will hire is an institutional aid full-time grade 3 at $30,373. To the best of my understanding, that is poverty level for Warren County at this time.
Yeah, I think that was the old rates.
That's the old rate.
That's the old rate.
It is the old rate, and under the new rate, it'll, according to the table that our budget officer provided me graciously, it says entry for grade 3 is 36,093. Is that correct?
I haven't seen the chart.
Yeah, all the salaries in the CSEA chart go up by $5,720.
$693. 1735.
Thank you.
So
Supervisor Hogan,
just a procedural question. So that'll get changed when, okay.
August 1st. Supervisor Stroud.
Very quick, just I would appreciate the support, resolution 324, and that's authorizing the appropriation for the Warren County Bikeway to consider connection feasibilities and safety improvement. Thank you.
Any other discussions? Supervisor Khan, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, not to labor the meeting, but just to, I support the helping our employees. I think that's a wonderful thing. And but the plan, the financial plan to do this concerns me a little bit. I would ask the county administrator and the county treasurer, if you would, please deliver to the appropriate committee in the strongest possible terms, the period that we're going into, the economic challenges, and if we can find resources that can help us transition through this period so we can smooth this impact over more than 1 or 2 years, that would be extremely helpful. And so I would say that, you know, if we have ARPA dollars that are available and unappropriated at this stage, that we seriously consider classifying them as lost revenue, and that we drop those dollars to the operating condition of our county, because believe me when I tell you, I suspect that we're going to need those dollars. We can spend them, but I'm fearful that we're going to find ourselves in the not too distant future struggling to find resources. And so I would say that the county administrator, that whatever magic you have before you leave in terms of a financial plan to help mitigate this impact, that it be exercised. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Seaver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On that note, carrying on this discussion portion related to this resolution, I do want to just put on the record, not only for our constituents that are listening to the meeting, but for our employees here in the county. While I only represent Queensbury, what I want to make particularly clear is a concern that I continue to hear this morning, particularly from our supervisor from Bolton. We have taken great lengths to ask our community to put in applications for ARPA money. The American Rescue Plan Act dollars have been promoted and provided to members of this community to try to help rebound and be resilient from COVID. Unfortunately, what I'm hearing here today is perhaps we should take another look and put some of those ARPA dollars towards lost revenue, when in fact, we have more applications than the money that we have in ARPA dollars. I will continue to be a fierce advocate for our community and ask that we award the ARPA dollars in the process that we've spent now several years on. Secondly, as it relates to any type of innuendo or suggestion here today that if we support the union contract, then we must support an increase to the budget, or we must support a discussion about property taxes. I am opposed to raising property taxes. I am opposed to anyone suggesting that if I vote on this here today, I'll have to vote on the budget. in favor of the budget. I will take a close look at that budget and continue to advocate for our taxpayers. On top of this, I have sat by our supervisor from Glens Falls and asked over and over for grade twos to be looked at. I am not happy over this compromise with the union because I don't feel it is adequate. But I will support this here today, having heard what I did today at the personnel meeting and then our subsequent discussion, Mr. Chairman. I will hold you accountable, though, to the reallocation committee and ask that an elected official please be on that, if possible, to have a discussion with our unions about the poor wages that we pay our meal prep workers. That is an incredibly important job and one that I think we should be addressing as soon as possible. Thank you for the opportunity to speak regarding it.
The only thing I could say about that is it could have been done last year as far as raising these employees up, and I don't know why it didn't.
You
But I
were
will
in that
say
meeting
one
with me,
thing,
Mr.
you
Chairman.
know, we will do anything within our legal requirements as a county to change things. We can't go outside of the bargaining unit without their acceptance of doing this. So
Right.
we'll look into it if it's doable by the way the labor laws are written.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And
Thank
Mr.
have-
Chairman, you
yeah.
were in that meeting with me last year
Yeah.
as a member of the negotiating team. So I hope we keep trying.
Yes. Supervisor Connor.
Yeah, I think that the leadership over the years, including the negotiating members over the years, did what they thought, I'm confident, did what they thought was in the best interest of the county.
Okay.
And that included last year and the year before.
And the year before.
And then I think that, and the idea though that, and it may be that, Ms. Seeber's crystal ball is correct but I can tell you that I was here when, we were asking for no increases for our employees. I sat in that chair, I wasn't supervisor at the time, it was the following year. And other municipalities asked for give backs and so on and so forth. And what ends up happening when you do that is that we didn't have a fund balance. There wasn't anything to go to. And then what ends up happening is that $2,000 or $3,000 that's denied that employee, that's times the last 12 years. We've denied those employees anywhere from $20,000 to $40,000 or more of income, household income over that entire period of time. And that's what happens when you put yourself in that kind of situation. Because now you're in a recession, you don't want to increase property taxes. The last thing you want to do, of course, you don't want to do that. So the question becomes, okay, we're going to introduce the following additional expense to our operating condition, which I support. And all I'm saying is to our financial people, the treasurer and the county administrator in particular, make sure we have a solid financial plan to help spread this over the period of time to mitigate that impact. And that's my request today. And I don't think it's anything that anyone needs to become defensive about. I think it is just reasonableness, common sense approach to the financial actions that we're taking today. That's all. Thank you.
Supervisor Hogan, did you have something?
Thank you. Regarding ARPA allocations, I would like to see the discussions continue on. I don't know whether the committee will find it appropriate to allocate ARPA funds back into revenue recovery, but I want to point out that the allocations that this committee have made thus far are smart. They're towards workforce development, youth engagement in the workforce, mental health. These are all things that are going to benefit us and help us through a recession as well as in recovery from a pandemic. Don't forget that these monies, we're not throwing them to the wind. These are smart investments in our community, whether it's in the wake of the pandemic or in advance of a recession. So please continue to do the good work that you guys are doing, and please continue to be as thoughtful as you have been.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, can we, is there any public comment on any resolutions? Nobody? Okay, I guess we'll vote on the resolutions. There's no objections. Let's go.
Okay.
Where's Mark?
Resolutions 318 and 319, which are making supplemental appropriations and amending Warren County budget. Mr. Merlino,
Yes.
Mr. Stroud,
Yeah.
Mr. Wild,
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
Yes.
Ms. Seaver, Mr. Beatty,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Runyon,
Yes.
Mr. Conover.
Yeah.
Mr. Leggett,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt.
Yes.
Ms. Bramer,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll.
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Drossy,
Yes.
Ms. Hogan.
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson,
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolutions both passed. Resolutions 320 to 325, which are all ARPA distributions to employment and training, planning and community development, and to Greater Glens Falls Transit. Mr. Merlino,
Yes.
Mr. Stroud,
Yeah.
Mr. Wild,
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
Yes.
Ms. Seaver,
Yes.
Mr. Beatty,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Runyon,
Yes.
Mr. Conover.
Yeah.
Mr. Leggett,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt.
Yes.
Ms. Bramer,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll.
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Drossy,
Yes.
Ms. Hogan,
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson,
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolutions all pass. Resolution 349, which is amending the table of organization and Warren County salary and compensation plan for 2022 to create and delete positions for the county attorney, public defender, and county clerk. Mr. Merlino,
Yes.
Mr. Stroud,
Yes.
Mr. Wild,
Yes.
Mr. McGowan.
Yeah.
Ms. Seaver,
Yes.
Mr. Beatty,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Runyon,
Yes.
Mr. Conover.
Yeah.
Mr. Leggett,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt.
Yes.
Ms. Bramer,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll.
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Drossy,
Yes.
Ms. Hogan,
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson,
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 350 is amending tables of organization and Warren County salary and compensation plan for 2022 to adjust positions for the public defender and countryside adult home. Mr. Merlino,
Yes.
Mr. Stroud,
Yes.
Mr. Wild,
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
Yeah.
Ms. Seaver,
Yes.
Mr. Beatty,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Runyon,
Yes.
Mr. Conover.
Yeah.
Mr. Leggett,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt.
Yes.
Ms. Bramer.
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll.
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Drossy.
Yes.
Ms. Hogan,
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson,
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 353 is enacting local law number 2 of 2022 for the Board of Ethics as amended and amended again. Mr. Merlino,
Yes.
Mr. Stroud,
Yeah.
Mr. Wild,
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
Yeah.
Ms. Seaver,
Yes.
Mr. Beatty,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Runyon,
Yes.
Mr. Conover,
Yeah.
Mr. Leggett,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt.
Yes.
Ms. Bramer,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll.
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Drossy,
Yes.
Ms. Hogan.
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson,
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 355, authorizing appropriation of funds from the general fund unappropriated surplus to the airport budget to authorize payment to Forest Enterprises. Mr. Merlino,
Yes.
Mr. Stroud,
Yeah.
Mr. Wild,
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
Yeah.
Ms. Seaver,
No.
Mr. Beatty,
No.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Runyon,
Yes.
Mr. Conover.
Yeah.
Mr. Leggett,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt.
Yes.
Ms. Bramer,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll.
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Drossy,
Yes.
Ms. Hogan,
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson,
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolutions 359, 360, 361, 362, and 363. Authorizing appropriations from the general fund unappropriated surplus. To computer reserve and occupancy tax. I'm sorry, 360 is not in there. 359, 361, 362, and 363 are what you're voting on. Mr. Merlino,
Yes.
Mr. Stroud,
Yeah.
Mr. Wild,
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
Yeah.
Ms. Seaver,
Yes.
Mr. Beatty,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Runyon,
Yes.
Mr. Conover.
Yeah.
Mr. Leggett,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt.
Yes.
Ms. Bramer,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll.
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Drossy,
Yes.
Ms. Hogan.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Ms. Hogan,
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson.
Yeah.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolutions pass. Resolution 366, adopting and approving Adirondack Community College operating budget for fiscal year 2022 to 2023. Mr. Merlino,
Yes.
Mr. Stroud,
Yeah.
Mr. Wild,
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
No.
Ms. Seaver,
Yes.
Mr. Beatty,
No.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Runyon,
Yes.
Mr. Conover.
Yeah.
Mr. Leggett,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt,
Yes.
Ms. Bramer,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll,
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Drossy,
Yes.
Ms. Hogan,
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson,
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 372, appointing the Democratic Commissioner of Elections. No, 371 is waiving the rules.
Oh, okay. Too bad.
Mr. Merlino,
Yes.
Mr. Stroud,
Yes.
Mr. Wild,
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
Yes.
Ms. Seaver,
Yes.
Mr. Beatty,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Runyon,
Yes.
Mr. Conover.
Yeah.
Mr. Leggett,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt.
Yes.
Ms. Bramer,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll,
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Drossy,
Yes.
Ms. Hogan,
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson,
Yeah.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes. And resolution 374, appointing Republican Commissioner of Elections. Mr. Merlino,
Yes.
Mr. Stroud,
Yes.
Mr. Wild,
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
No.
Ms. Seaver,
No.
Mr. Beatty,
Abstain.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Runyon,
Yes.
Mr. Conover.
Yeah.
Mr. Leggett,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
No.
Mr. McDevitt,
Yes.
Ms. Bramer,
No.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll,
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Drossy,
Yes.
Ms. Hogan,
No.
Mr. Dickinson,
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Okay, that resolution passes with a vote of 606 in favor. And you need a collective on the rest.
Motion to approve the rest of the resolution. All those in favor?
Wait, I have a quick question. There's a typo, I believe, on 324. Do we need to correct it before we move on? It's 400,000, but the chart at the bottom says 20,000.
That's because that's just the appropriation for 2022. I believe. Double check with
That's
Ryan, but they'll come back and we'll do other appropriations as they're needed. They don't transfer over the bulk right now.
Okay, thank you.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, carried. Okay, now we have the county attorney to give his report.
Thank you. It's been a busy first half of the year through the end of June. What I'm going to do is touch on three areas and the work that's been occurring in three areas that my office handles. And then I'm going to ask for a motion to go into executive session so we can talk about some specific litigation matters that are ongoing and pending. In the area of family court with Raise the Age, which was the state legislature's move to remove 16 and 17-year-olds from the criminal justice system and to divert them into the family court system. There's been a significant increase in juvenile delinquency petitions that my office has handled, especially last year going into this year, as far as a mark for the first 6 months of this year. Currently, we're on pace 2020. When I go back, when I look at the number of petitions that have been filed, which is basically an action, it's the same as how many criminal complaints were filed in a particular court. Well, for us, it's how many juvenile delinquency petitions were filed. And I noticed from the last full year of 2019, before Raise the Age came into play and COVID hit, we're already on track to do 100% more than we did back in 2019 on juvenile delinquencies. Prepping the petition is just one part of the action. It involves multiple court appearances and ultimately either a settlement, i.e. Factual admission, which is the equivalent of a plea in a criminal court, and then a disposition, with the dispositions being somewhat limited as far as what's available for a juvenile delinquency. Choices between probation or residential treatment. And in the rare case, there is the possibility of an individual going into state care. It's just not a result that we see very often. There's also a lot of interplay that occurs with the Department of Social Services on abuse and neglect petitions, meaning actions against a parent of a child who also has a juvenile delinquency matter pending before the court. Another area that my office handles, the shorthand is called AOTs, It stands for Assisted Outpatient Treatment. It's a statute where individuals in the community are brought before the court for a court-ordered treatment to be imposed upon them. Those are petitions, again, and actions that our office is involved in to include fact-finding hearings with expert witnesses to determine whether or not there is in fact a need for an individual to be court-ordered into particular forms of treatment. I don't want to say what types of treatment, but there are often individuals who cannot make decisions for themselves effectively. Through the first 6 months of this year, we've handled as many AOT petitions as the office did in the entire year of 2019. So there seems to be, and even in the intervening years, a significant increase in the juvenile delinquency actions and the AOT actions. On the tax foreclosure front, we are preparing, now that the last chance meeting has occurred, we're preparing to submit a motion to complete the process in the form of a judgment, which will take any of the parcels that are not paid by the various dates that have been set either by the treasurer for the end of this month or by the committee, and to move those forward into a judgment so the tax foreclosure sale can proceed in October. At the same time, our office is going through and reviewing and analyzing what the county has historically done versus what state law procedure provides for. And at some point, when there's an opportunity, we're going to put together a presentation for the board comparing the two models, because there is significant divergence between those two. Subject to any questions, there's no way for me to sit here and to give you a kind of a rundown of what I've done or my office has done over the last 30 days. It's far more varied and detailed than I ever expected on the day I started. But I appreciate your patience. If I have not gotten back to you as quickly as you would have liked on a particular issue, and I will again reach out to the department heads who have issues waiting. We're doing our best to address them all in the order of priority that we can address them. With that said, I would ask if there's a motion to go into executive session. There are 6 matters I'd like to address. 3 of them will be quick. 1 of them will be a little more detailed, and 2 we may have to put off for the next meeting. They are the following lawsuits against the county: Sahaba versus the County of Warren and others. Kathleen Innes versus the County of Warren and others. Lawsuits by John David Smith versus the county and other defendants. Michael Easterbrooks versus the County of Warren and other defendants. Joshua Rouse versus the County of Warren and other defendants. And there's 1 notice of claim, which I would like to address with the board, Jasmine Ernest. If there's a motion for executive session, I would greatly appreciate the opportunity to address those with the board today.
Motion by Mr. Supervisor McGowan, second by Mr. Stroud. Any discussion? All those in favor?